माँ की राह पर चलते रहे हम उम्र भर। परमात्मा की राह पर चलते रहे हम उम्र भर। प्रभु साथ चलना हर कदम आए हैं हम तेरी शरण। प्रभु साथ चलना हर कदम आए हैं हम तेरी शरण, तेरी शरण। परमात्मा की राह पर चलते रहे हम उम्र भर। जाना हमें उस स्थान पर जहाँ सिर्फ आत्म का हो घर। जाना हमें उस स्थान पर जहाँ सिर्फ आत्म का हो घर। ना कोई भी देह हो, ना कोई देह का भोग हो। हम साधना इतनी करें मिल जाए मुक्ति का ये पथ। हम साधना इतनी करें मिल जाए मुक्ति का ये पथ। परमात्मा की राह पर चलते रहे हम उम्र भर। कामना है प्रभु निष्पाप जीवन मैं जीऊं। मेरी एक कामना है प्रभु निष्पाप जीवन मैं जीऊं। मेरे साथ हो तेरे उपकरण, मेरे हाथ में हो रजोहरण। गुरु आपके जैसा बनूं, शासन प्रभाव न मैं करूं। गुरु आपके जैसा बनूं, शासन प्रभाव न मैं करूं। परमात्मा की राह पर चलते रहे हम उम्र भर। हमने लिए कितने जन्म, हमने जिए कितने जीवन। हमने लिए कितने जन्म, हमने जिए कितने जीवन। इस पाप में संसार में कितने बंधे हमसे करम। इतने भवों का खेद है अब और ना हो चलते रहें हम उम्र भर परमात्मा की राह पर, चलते रहें हम उम्र भर। प्रभु साथ चलना हर कदम, आए हैं हम तेरी शरण, परमात्मा की राह पर चलते रहें हम उम्र भर।
Good evening. Welcome. We have driven from all different areas of the community. So let's take a deep cleansing breath together as a family, as a community that supports each other. So ready? The count of 3. Let's take a deep inhale and gently exhale. This process is going to allow to become present into this divine space in this time that we have created to learn, to grow, and most importantly, to be with each other, which we have not done for quite a few years. So this truly is a gift. And as we cleanse our mind, let's take a moment to experience and realize that each one of us present in this room is an expression of a divine being. So take a moment to look at each other as a community and appreciate and recognize that we have arrived to absorb, be with each other, and celebrate this beautiful day together. So I welcome each and every divine being sitting in this room, experience this magical transformation of love, benevolence, and truth. So welcome.
Shanti, warm welcome. So Global Harmony House, Brahma Kumaris welcomes you. And thank you so much for coming out and making this day so special for all of us. I feel that looking at this beautiful video, you must be already feeling illuminated by so many qualities. And this day, which we call it as the great night of Shiva, which is also kind of celebrated as his birthday, so it feels like along with God's birthday, it's also our birthday, and his DNA is present in all of us, right? So those qualities of God are present within all of us. And that's what Niti was trying to say, that it's illuminating that brilliance within us when we see him as the truth, the benevolent one, and the beautiful one. So this evening, we are going to just celebrate some of these qualities related with some of the relationships that we experience with him in an eternal form. So without further ado, I will ask our brother to show the first video where we will see the uniqueness of him being our one and only spiritual eternal parent, and how that oneness and that uniqueness about him is being showcased, that we will see and experience as we see this. Thank you.
The Hindu says, to the mandir come, and to idols you should pray. The Buddhist needs no statues saying, meditation will save the day. The Christian cries, just follow Christ, forget ye all the rest, forget the mandir and the mosque, for the chapel is the best. And the mullah shouts from minarets high, the mosque will save you when you die, and the rabbi in his synagogue has different ideas of the perfect God. Each and every other man claims intimate knowledge of God's master plan. I don't know who I should believe or which way I should turn, because they tell me all these different things and then say God is one. Some say shave your head and face, grow long hair if you dare. Some say never ever cut the Sikh's long blessed hair. Some wear white for purity, for others green is best. Some look east to talk with God, while some face south or west. Some say don't drink alcohol, that wine is the devil's device. But some say come and drink with me, it's the sacred blood of Christ. Some say eat kosher or halal, otherwise you will sin. And let the animal bleed to death, but pray for it as you begin. Some say never eat the flesh of another soul with pride. God takes care of all your needs, and nature will provide. I don't know what to eat or wear, or which way I should turn. They tell me all these different things, and then say, God is one. I asked some wise religious men, what happens when I die? What happens when my time is up? My children left to cry. I know that they will burn my corpse, but what about my soul? Will it stay down here on earth? Or is there a heavenly goal? Where is hell and where is heaven? And where does God reside? Who will judge my long life's sins? My fate, who will decide? The priest says he will read my rights, and all will then be well. God will take me in his care, and I won't burn in hell. And the Judaist says I will be placed in a coffin in a family crypt. I'll then await for Judgment Day, and the Messiah will have the script. The Hindu and the Buddhist claim the children need not cry. Reincarnation is the only way, and I will never die. I just don't know who to believe or which way I should turn. They tell me all these different things, and then say God is one. But then God sent an angel, her sari white like snow. She pointed me to my inner self, saying, that's where I must go.
It's quite amazing and interesting to see how we love, worship, and yet call him God. It's such a united, unanimous way of loving him. He comes to us as a teacher, as a friend, as a parent. This beautiful, interesting video really touched the heart of seeing how we remember him. And one of the relationship, which is very dear to me, is a relationship of a teacher. How do we welcome and how do we invite God as our teacher? So we're going to have a small little conversation with our beautiful brother. His name is Hardik. Oh, there's one more. Okay. So I'm sorry. We're going to play one more song. And after that, we're going to introduce our beautiful young guest.
हर मजहब जिसे कबूल करे वही सच्चा रूप तुम्हारा है। हर मजहब जिसे कबूल करे वही सच्चा रूप तुम्हारा है। ईसा ने कहा तुझे लाए, ईसा ने कहा तुझे लाए, मोहम्मद ने नूर पुकारा है। हर मजहब जिसे कबूल करे वही सच्चा रूप तुम्हारा है। जन्म मरण के बंधन में एक तू ही कभी ना आता है। तू ही कभी ना आता है। तभी तो सदा पूज तू, ना तेरा पिता न माता है। ना तेरा पिता न माता है। ना तेरा पिता न माता है। गुरु ग्रंथ भी कहे तुझे, गुरु ग्रंथ भी कहे तुझे, निराकार तू दिव्य सितारा है। हर मजहब जिसे कबूल करे वही सच्चा रूप तुम्हारा है। ज्योति रूप दिखाया है। तेरा ज्योति रूप दिखाया है। परम ज्योति महाज्योति एक तू ही सबको भाया है। एक तू ही सबको भाया है। एक तू ही सबको भाया है। तेरी पावन पावन किरणों से, तेरी पावन पावन किरणों से शुद्ध होता जहां ये सारा है। हर मजहब जिसे कबूल प्रभु नाम तेरे अनेकों हैं, पर रूप हमेशा एक रहा। अपनी अपनी भाषा में तेरे रूप को सबने प्रकाश कहा। तेरे रूप को सबने प्रकाश कहा। प्रभु तू ही अपने प्रकाश से, प्रभु तू ही अपने प्रकाश से कर ज्ञान का उजियारा है। हर मजहब जिसे कबूल करे वही सच्चा रूप तुम्हारा है। हर मजहब जिसे कबूल करे वही सच्चा रूप तुम्हारा है। ईसा ने कहा तुझे लाए, ईसा ने
That was a powerful video, touching each one's heart of how I worship him. How do I make him my best friend, my beloved? So let's take a few moments to listen to a little chit chat between a student and a teacher, understanding that what kind of relationship do I have with God? What do I receive from God? So we welcome Rithik, who is our young, beautiful presenter. So Rithik, please welcome. And Sister Tina, please welcome.
Om Shanti, Sister Tina.
Hello, Ritik, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm also good, thank you. Are you sitting comfortable? You okay? All right, so Ritik, I know that you have been learning meditation over past few months. And I know you told me once that you feel a connection with the divine source. So I'm just wondering, what is your favorite relationship that you have with him?
Well, I love him in all relationships, but in particular, I love seeing him as my father and as my teacher.
Ah, okay. So what is the most important thing that your teacher has taught you?
Are you talking about our teacher in school or our teacher in life?
That's a good question. I'm talking about God as your teacher. So what was the question? What is the most important thing that God as your teacher
Well,
has taught you?
He's taught me many things, obviously, but the most important things were usually basics like human values, good actions and bad actions, neutral thoughts, positive thoughts, much more, but mostly everything he teaches is important.
Everything he teaches is important.
Yes.
Okay, so that's beautiful. Now, do you think then your teacher, God, is all-knowing, is very knowledgeable?
I definitely think he is.
And why do you think so?
He knows a lot, like he knows science, technology, geography of the world, history of the world, much more. Trust me, he knows everything.
He knows everything. Okay, so that's interesting. So do you think that when you make a mistake, God knows about it?
He definitely knows about it.
Okay, so then when you go in front of God as your teacher, do you think it's important to tell him the truth, or do you think, oh, he knows it anyway, so no need to tell him anything?
Well, it is important to tell him the truth. Also, what's the point of not telling the truth? What's the point of hiding it if he already knows? Even though he knows, it's still important to tell the truth. And if you make a mistake, he will forgive you.
He will
And he will
forgive
love
you.
you forever.
So do you feel that he loves you in that sense?
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay. That's beautiful, Ritik. My last question to you. What is something really interesting and cool about God being your teacher?
Well, what is really cool about God being my teacher is when you see your school, when I see my school teacher, I can only ask questions when I see him and when what subjects related to that teacher. But with the Supreme Soul, I can ask questions anytime, anywhere, and he will always guide me to do the right thing.
Wonderful. It's so beautiful, Ritik. I'm so happy to know that you have such a beautiful bond and connection with God as your teacher. I'm sure you must be his favorite student. Huh? So thank you, Ritik, for sharing your experiences with us.
Pleasure is mine. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Om Shanti.
This is not, if this is not the pursuit of truth, I don't know what else is. Such innocence and such beauty. Thank you so much, Ritik. He explains it so easily and naturally how you can have that connection, and each one of us can have that connection and guidance constantly, and we forget that. So thank you so much. Thank you, Tina Ben. So I'm going to invite some of our own practitioners who have jobs in the real world, who are authors, architects, nurses, teachers, and they practice this. And this guide and teacher who we call the Supreme God, how has compassion and mercy changed that life? So I'm going to invite Sister Carmen to talk to us and share with us how has this quality of mercy and compassion transformed her personal life. So welcome, Sister Carmen.
Om Shanti. Good evening to everybody. It's not yet evening, it's afternoon. So good afternoon. It's a pleasure. And of course, I have the fortune of talking a little bit about God as a guide. And in the role of a guide, but one of the most beautiful qualities is that of compassion. And, you know, the guide will always direct us where we need to be, will always take us and show us the way. But this particular guide is so full of love. We call him the ocean of love. And out of that love comes his compassion and comes his mercy and his compassion for all of his children. And all of us are his children. So he's compassionate and merciful to all of us. And I'm going to share something from my own personal experience. One of the ways I experience God to be supremely compassionate. And it has to do with my spiritual journey, which started before I even know I started. There was a time in my life when I was extremely unhappy because I just couldn't understand what spirituality was all about. I couldn't understand where I was going, what life was about, what God was about, what was the truth, etc., etc. I had no clarity and I was really unhappy within myself. And so one night I had this very lovely dream, powerful dream. And that was about 10 years or so before I took this knowledge, before I came to the Brahma Kumaris and studied Raj Yoga. And I dreamt that I was journeying on this road and no idea where I was going, but I was carrying a lamp. And I wasn't aware that I had the lamp because the light in the lamp was so dim. Then I came to an intersection in the road. and the lamp fell from my hand and broke. Only then I realized I had a lamp, because the light from the lamp lit up the path behind me. I stood in the intersection and I said to myself, oh my God, my lamp is broken. My journey is not complete. Where am I going to get the light from? And that dream was 10 years before, and I have studied this knowledge now for 25 years. So this dream is about 35 years old, but every time I remember the dream, it's as if it was last night, because it was just so powerful. And then 10 years later, I came here by chance, never heard of the Brahma Kumaris, but ended up on their steps and studied Raj Yoga. And after I did the course, I started to come to the morning classes. Some of you may know that every morning in every Brahma Kumari center, we have these discourses, these classes, where we study spiritual knowledge, has to do with who you are, who God is, the journey through time, you know, all that wonderful stuff. And in one of the morning classes, this was what I heard. I have come to fill your lamp with oil and to rekindle your light. And the bell went off in my head. That's the answer to my dream, because I spent, by this time, maybe almost 20 years, not quite 20 years, but almost 15 years at least, looking for the answer for that dream. It never left me. And so here is the answer. I've come to fill your lamp with oil and to rekindle your light. So God, in his wisdom and his mercy and his compassion, out of this abundance of unlimited love, knows his child was searching desperately and was so unhappy, had been so unhappy, and really wanted the answer. Where am I going to get the light from? And he says, I've come to fill your lamp. Well, I've come to show you. I have so much compassion for you. I don't want you to search anymore. I don't want you to be confused anymore. I don't want you to be unhappy anymore. And so even when we don't know that God is hearing us, he's hearing our cries, because sometimes we don't even know that we're crying, or we don't know what we're asking for. He knows what we're asking for. And out of his compassion, he will be there to show us what it is we need. He will be there to lift the veil from our eyes and give us clarity and give us hope. So always be hopeful. Never feel that you're alone. Never feel he's not hearing you, that he doesn't know what's going on with you. He is full of love, and he's the one who, as the brother says, knows everything. He knows everything about your heart. So he'll be there to attend to the heart. And so that's my little sharing on this aspect of compassion and mercy from God. Thank you.
That was absolutely beautiful. What a lovely story of connecting the dots, having the pure desire, and God fulfilling it. So we step into happiness. How has this innate quality of God within me has changed me in practicing happiness? So I would invite Sister Susan to come and share the quality of happiness.
And I'm very happy to share this quality, because actually this study has made me very happy, but to a point where I could tell you that I love my life. So when I came here 21 years ago, they told me that happiness is our birthright, that happiness, joy, and bliss are innate within the soul. That was the first thing they told me, that I was a soul, not a body. I'm a spiritual being having a physical experience. So when I came here, I kind of thought I was my roles, you know, a daughter, a teacher, a writer, a friend, but I'm none of those things. Those are my roles. I'm a soul. And in the soul are these beautiful, beautiful qualities. So when I came here, they promised me happiness, joy, and bliss. And I said, why aren't I getting these goodies? Because my mother had just passed on and she was sick for a long time. And I also learned that your thoughts are very powerful. And my head kept thinking of all the sorrowful situations that I went through with her being ill and then passing on. So I realized my thoughts were taking away my happiness, that I was doing it to myself by reliving these things. And I had to stop. You know, we call them waste thoughts. Waste thoughts are things you think of repeatedly, and they're not doing you any good. They're of no benefit to you. And it's interesting how you could stand in front of the mirror, and when you think happy, positive thoughts, your face lights up. And when you think sorrowful thoughts, it just goes right down. It drains all the energy out of you. So what I had to do was watch my thoughts. I had to become very vigilant. And somehow I came up with this idea. I used to teach kindergarten, so I come up with a lot of kid-like ideas to sing to myself. And I used to walk around singing. I don't know why. I would sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star for months. Now I have a larger repertoire. But that really did it for me. I would just keep singing with Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and that would cut out all the negative thoughts. And that's the way I did it. I would catch the negative thoughts and just think of positive thoughts. And that's what really turned it around. And then also, I had to detach. They teach us detachment here. I had to detach from trying to fill other people's expectations. And in the midst of doing that, not taking care of myself, you know, ignoring myself while I'm going to rescue somebody else. And the other thing was detachment from my own opinions. I had my own opinions and I had this need to be right and to convince you that my opinion was right. And that took away my happiness. So now, whatever you think is fine with you, whatever I think is fine with me, but I'm also open to change my ideas and my opinion, which is easy too. And the other thing that helped me so tremendously is just learning to let go. Just whatever it is, let it go. If it's not making you happy, let it go, because otherwise I would think of something and then that thought became a sentence and it became a paragraph and it became a whole story. And it just would take away all my happiness. So today I actually write children's books using the virtues and everything to help the children think in the right way so they can enjoy their life. And ultimately, like the little boy said, it's this companionship with God that supports me through everything. I don't have to hold on to anything because I know I'm being taken care of. I know I'm being guided. I know everything I need will be given to me. So just having that kind of companionship, I call it constant conscious contact, can let me, I was going to say, let me be happy, but that's our nature to be happy. It just lets me be the real me, happy, peaceful, joyful. That's the real person inside. And with this companionship, so you're kind of letting go of everything, you're just gliding along and you're holding on to your true nature, being happy and being peaceful. And it's a great, great thing. 21 years of work and it's worth it all. But it starts with being vigilant about your thoughts. Don't let your thoughts go into the gutter. In that way, your elevated thoughts elevates your whole self, you know? It just lifts you up. Elevated thoughts will just lift you up. And to put it easily, just to have an attitude of gratitude. Be grateful for everything we have. You know, it's like we woke up in the morning. That's something to be grateful for, you know, especially with the aging process. You know, you get an ache, a pain here, whatever. But thank God, that's the privilege of getting older, you know? So if you just have an attitude of gratitude, you can hold on to your true nature of being happy. Thank you.
Very beautifully, simply said, and could be practiced. And I like that image of watching ourselves in the mirror and seeing our own face. And that index becomes the mirror to our mind. So thank you so much, Susan. And there is one more beautiful quality of God, and that is of a liberator. How does, or how will, or how has he liberated me personally? So I would like to invite Brother Tony to share his experience, God as his liberator.
No. My experience is very curious in that when I came to the Brahma Kumaris, it was 23 years ago, I was basically going to the retreats. I hadn't started coming into the classes. My experience is interesting because I was liberated from something I thought I didn't need to be liberated from. I felt myself happy. I had a very nice job, very prestigious job, but I was still spiritually conscious and looking for spiritual values in my life. And I started coming to the Brahma Kumaris, to the classes, took knowledge, started coming regularly and started meditating. And something very subtle but very significant happened. When I started coming to the Brahma Kumaris, I was working in a very high tension job, although I'm not sure I've ever stopped working in high tension jobs. And I thought that tension in your way of functioning was actually a good thing. I thought it was my friend. So I was not unhappy. I was working in a job. I had a lot of responsibilities and I had to make certain things happen. And tension was the way you did it often. You use tension as a way of motivating yourself and motivating other people. I remember an incident when I was sitting with a bunch of people that were part of my group and having told them, you need to do this task or these tasks, and they just weren't getting done. So I had to go in and become extremely aggressive and saying, well, it's going to get done on this time and this way. And I don't want to hear any other option. So now that's not something I really wanted to do, but it seemed to be to me like something I had to do to get things done. And what happened, and so that was kind of an example of what I'm talking about. Tension was pushing, always making things, trying to make things happen. And I was using that as a tool, and I was not unhappy. And then as I came here and started meditation, and I started kind of getting more into the values, particularly the subtle values of how you deal with yourself as well as with other people, I began to notice that there are very subtle and important differences in how you actually engage with yourself and other people. And I began to realize that what I was doing before, I was in constant tension, and that I had to work at having moments of contentment, because I was very oriented to doing tasks. There was a job, there were responsibilities, there were objectives, there were goals, and I was constantly achieving those, and I felt very good about it, obviously. But there was no moment, generally, certainly not in the job, and only personally, maybe with my family and with friends, that I had moments where I was content, where I was not feeling, okay, this is the nature of my existence. I have to be pushing all the time. And I enjoyed those moments of contentment, but I thought that they were the exceptions. That's what life was. Life was full of a lot of demands, and then occasionally you had a reward. You sat down and you were able to stop and relax. So my default switch was always tension. Whenever anything stopped, I was tense. I was looking, okay, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do with my family, with my kids, with my job, all these things. And then as I came here and I began to see that there is a very different kind of focus, that tension does not have to really be the basis. Now, And you kind of begin to undo the strands, and you realize that tension has to do with the fact that there is conflict outside of you. And that conflict is outside of you for most of the time. Very rarely does it really is internal to you. You have a problem with your son or your daughter or your wife. Those are things that are really directly attributable to you. But the rest of the tension of my life was not really mine. It had to do with what I was doing, not with what I was. And as that process evolved, I was able to begin to undo these threads where I was owning all this external tension, taking it into myself, saying, okay, this is what I need. This is the fuel I need to get things done. When it was not the case, it was just a way of doing it, but it was not really what needed to be done. The tension was not really mine. The conflict was not mine. I was making it mine, but it wasn't really mine. And as that evolved, I was able to undo this particular process and be able to deal with things a little bit differently. The conflicts obviously didn't go away. These kinds of jobs are like that. But I was able to begin to look at this very differently. It was no longer a question of being in tension all the time. It was no longer a question of saying, okay, I have to do this, and to do this, I have to make sure that these people are on notice, and I began to see a change, and it was very slow, very, very subtle, where I got to the point where my default was no longer tension. The conflict and the tension did not go away, obviously. This world we live in, I still have a regular job. But when I went home, when there was a moment, some sort of respite, I was no longer tense. Tension was not my default anymore. And it happened slowly, but at one point I realized, wow, this is really fundamental change. So I began to understand that, and it's one of the things that's said constantly in the lessons we learn, and part of the values is that contentment is basically something that we're entitled to. It's something that is part of our right as human beings, as souls. Be content. It is something that is innate in us. And while it's a statement that sometimes takes a little bit to kind of digest, I began to understand what that meant. That meant that when I stopped engaging in an activity, I didn't have to carry that tension with me. I was content. So even though at this point I still see the strings of conflict around me all the time, in some ways they're getting worse, I am no longer subject to that conflict personally. It happens outside of myself. And my default now is not tension. Whenever I stop, I'm content. I'm not involved in a situation where I feel, okay, I have to think this through and make some change, and because that's not really the way things get done, even though I was very convinced of that. So the liberation that I experienced was about something I didn't even know I needed to be liberated about. Something that I thought I was happy about. It was my friend. Of course, after this, you learn that tension all the time is actually tremendously bad for your body and for your mind. But it was very, very important and very subtle. It was not something, it's not an aha moment, because before I came to the BKs, I was already on a spiritual journey. So I was already looking at spiritual values. I had gone from being a lapsed Catholic to becoming more practicing Catholic, still curious about other spiritual values, and that's how I came here. So it wasn't something that was being revealed here that was new in terms of my spiritual journey. But what was really interesting, one of the things that's always been for me so valuable is that the knowledge that we look at here is in many ways very pragmatic. It's not esoteric. It's not, well, you know, if you do this, like Catholicism, you do this, you'll be rewarded in heaven. That's not how this particular discipline works. You do these things, you're rewarded now. You're going to deal with these issues now. They're going to be in your current life. And I was very fortunate. So to me right now, the basic liberation is I am no longer default tension. I stop that. Whenever I'm stopping anything, I'm content. Everything else comes in, but if I'm left to my own devices, I'm content. And that to me was an extraordinary, very subtle and very important change in my life.
Thank you so much for sharing that depth of wisdom, Brother Tony. And as he said, that it takes time. It is a process, but it is first the recognition of seeing what I want to get liberated from. And each one of us in this room wants to get liberated from something, but it requires time, it requires work. Like our senior sister Gayatri was mentioning to us in our class this morning, there are no free lunches. It requires time. It requires a deep appreciation of change to see within myself. So now that we have progressed into the program, knowing who God is, his qualities of deep love, truth, teacher, companion, friend, who shares happiness with us, who liberates us. I mean, imagine just taking all of that from the shoulders. So is everybody awake? Is everybody smiling? Ready to let go of something? Yes? So let's celebrate his qualities with this beautiful song and video in appreciation of his qualities and sing salutations to Shiva. So let's take this time and awaken ourselves and awaken that enthusiasm to see that change within.
पूरब से जब सूरज निकले सिंदूरी घन छाए, पवन के पग में नूपुर बाजे, मयूर मन मेरा गाए। पूरब से जब सूरज निकले सिंदूरी घन छाए, पवन के पग में नूपुर बाजे, मयूर मन मेरा गाए, मन मेरा गाए। ओम नमः शिवाय, 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 ओम नमः पुष्प की माला थाल सजाऊं, गंगा जल भर कलश मिलाऊं, नव ज्योति के दीप जलाऊं, चरणों में नित शीश झुकाऊं, भाव विभोर होके भक्ति में रोम रोम रम जाए, मन मेरा गाए ओम नमः शिवाय, 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 ओम नमः अभियंकर शंकर अविनाशी, मैं तेरे दर्शन की अभिलाषी, जन्मों से पूजा की प्यासी, मुझ पे करना कृपा जरा सी, तेरे सिवा मेरे प्राणों को और कोई ना भाए, मन मेरा गाए ओम नमः शिवाय, 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 ओम नमः शिवाय।
Om Shanti, everyone. My name is Louise, and I have been a student here at the Brahma Kumaris for approximately 8 years now. And it's my privilege this evening to introduce our very special speaker and spiritual leader to you all. How many of you know Sister Gayatri already? Yes. She used to actually live in house here, and we do miss her here on the premises. Yes, we do. So I'm going to read the official bio, which is Sister Gayatri Narain has dedicated her life to exploring the spiritual dimension of personal development and growth through the studies of Raja Yoga as taught by the Brahma Kumaris. As the representative of the BKs at the United Nations, her focus is on transformation as a spiritual phenomenon, and she serves there as vice chair of the International Day of Yoga Committee at the UN. So that's the official bio. But I think I'm standing up here to introduce the person, the beautiful soul that I know for 8 years now. We're all rather intimate with Sister Gayatri because thanks to Zoom and to YouTube and all of that, in addition to personal contact, we are very much in company, in your company. You said to me today, we haven't seen each other in a long time, but I see you every week. For sure. And I love it because when we do have these classes we spoke about in the mornings, and Sister Gayatri will lead one of the classes. She can take one item, one sentence, and turn it into the most incredibly insightful half-hour discussion. And we all know that Sister Gayatri really needs no introduction because she is her own introduction. And you'll know that as soon as she starts to speak to you up there. But I do want to share with you that when I was a brand new student, I learned of her childhood, which wound up being our gift. She was rather privileged in Guyana. Her father was a diplomat. And I remember thinking, I never said this to you, I remember thinking how I would have loved to have sat around the dinner table in your house with loving parents who nurtured everything we've come to know in you as a Brahmin, and how the intelligence in that family and the love that she received wound up being our gift through her here, for sure. I was also amazed to learn not only is she well read, but from classical literature to popular literature, she knows all about everything. And I'm always amazed. I just sent her a test. Is it possible for you to see the new Wonka movie? I mean, it's so uplifting. I think it was written by a Brahmin and nothing like the Johnny Depp or the, what's his name? I can't think right now. Gene Wilder version. It was just so inspiring and uplifting. If you have young children, go see it. Commercial. Anyway, incredible popular songs from classical stuff on. She is so, we talk about the Renaissance man of the Renaissance times, and I've always thought of her as a Renaissance woman because you bring up a topic and she will know all about it. And her lightness and her joy is so Brahmin that she really is the personification of a senior sister here. Personally, and I'll end with this, you may not know this, but Sister Gayatri, when I was a younger student and a bit confused, she's the one responsible for, she calls it like it is, and she'll tell you exactly what you need to hear. And she said to me, no, your heart's not open to God. And I was taken aback, and I thought about that. And then we followed up with a little conversation about 6 months ago, very brief. And she said, no, you're not being honest with yourself. And you know what? She's the one, she and Judy Rogers really were responsible for my journey to opening my heart more and more in the ways you've heard today about the loving relationship with God as a parent, as a teacher. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the woman that needs, the sister, the soul who needs no introduction, Sister Gayatri, our spiritual leader. And she's going to share with you the spiritual significance of this occasion today. Thank you all for coming. I love seeing your smiling faces, and I hope you've enjoyed the evening.
Om Shanti. It's amazing to be sitting there and have someone talk about you, and you feel as though it's not you that they're talking about. But it's beautiful. Thank you, Louise, because I feel when one is talking about the other, it's an expression of their beauty. And you listen to the words and you feel what's coming from that person's soul. And what's coming from that person's soul belongs to the person. So thank you for expressing your beauty in such a wonderful way. Even though you attribute it to me, it's all yours. As you've been seeing with the videos and from the sharings here this evening, there's a mystery that is actually moving through our world, and it doesn't matter on what continent you happen to find yourself on, or which country. It seems as though this mystery is taking on a momentum. And when we think of God, God is a mystery to many. We have taken God as a source, and we have manifested God in very many ways. Last year, I found myself in Bali. Have you heard about Bali? It's supposed to be an exotic place in Indonesia. And I found myself in Bali attending a dialogue of people from Asia. And as you know, Indonesia shares this very close Vietnam, Cambodia, and of course, Thailand. And so there were people from there and China and other places in Asia, Malaysia. But what was very fascinating, and I call it the mystery, is that Bali is actually like a temple. The whole place is a temple. And when you walk the streets of Bali, there are idols of the manifestation of God all along the streets. There's a huge statue of Arjuna. And there's another huge one of Lord Rama and his army of monkeys being liberated. Arjuna, the one who is considered the best archer, who knew exactly how to shoot that arrow. So when you're walking in that place, you're not separated from manifestations of their gods and goddesses, but it still remains a mystery. It's a very mystical place. Actually, Bali is considered one of the places in which deep spiritual cleansing can happen. I'm told there are 3 spots. And if you want to really deep spiritual cleansing, you go to these 3 spots: Bali, Mauritius, and the Maldives. And just being there, there's a cleansing that is taking place. And so this mystery seems to be moving and manifesting itself in our lives. What we're celebrating here this evening is something that's called the manifestation of Shiva. And I know, for those of you who live in the United States, many years ago, there was an exhibition in Philadelphia called Manifestations of Shiva. And I don't know where they found those replicas from around the world. And people were extremely curious about these manifestations. But the thing about Shiva is an incorporeal being. And so even though Shiva is manifested in the lingam in particular, not so much in Shankar, even though he's said to be that naked form, locks on the hair, snakes around the neck, and sitting in deep tapasya, deep intense meditation, Shiva is manifested in an incorporeal form. And that incorporeal form is of light. Now, it is not light like this light, right? It is immortal light. It is eternal light. It is the light that is described as life, the life force. And so the mystery of God is manifesting in our lives in this subtle dimension of what life is, what life means, and the purpose of life. And so we heard the first expression of this evening. Out of the mouth of babes come the deepest truths, right? If you want a solution to a problem, ask a child. What do you think? Someone asked a child, how do we stop the world's population from growing? What do you think the child's answer was? Stop the cause. What is causing it? Stop it at that level. Oh, no, we can't do that. So this out of the mouth of babes, if God knows everything, why hide it from him? How do I lie to myself? How do I lie to God? And so this whole aspect of God manifesting that light in me to realize who I am through the deep wisdom is very important to understand. And one of the wisdoms that gets manifested in the light of our lives to reclaim meaning and purpose is, how do I lie to myself? How do I lie to God? So for me, looking at the light that's manifesting through Shiva, and Shiva is incorporeal light, is to clean up the things that are living within me that create guilt and that create fear and that create doubt. Now, these things, these emotions living within me are like clouds that separate me from understanding the light of God's wisdom. And so the first virtue is Satyam. Shiva, one of the characteristics of Shiva is Satyam, and Satya means truth. So what is truth? Is truth a weapon that I use to judge myself with? Is truth a weapon I use to judge others with? Does truth make me righteous than others? Does truth put me on a pedestal and others below me? What is truth? What is this Satyam? So there's a story. And the story is that two people came in front of God and says, "Oh God, show me the light of truth. Show me the light of your truth." And God responded and said, okay, here is a mirror. And the mirror had a curtain on it. And in the center was this mirror, both sides of the mirror, that curtain. And on two sides of the wall, they were blank canvases. They were just blank walls. And on one side, there were all kinds of detergents and cleaning materials with one wall. And on the other side, there were all sorts of colors and paints and brushes and pencils and everything. And God said, okay, choose which one you want, which wall you want to work with. And one person said, okay, I'm very creative. So I'll go with the creative wall. And the other one said, you know, I love to clean. So I'll go with the cleaning materials. And then God says, your truth will reveal itself. Truth will reveal itself to you based on the choice you make. And so the one with all the, and you both had the quality for truth was creative freedom. You had creative freedom to work with. And the one with the paintings painted over the walls in the most beautiful way. And the one with the cleaning materials cleaned the wall. So who do you think truth was revealed to? The one who painted over or the one who cleaned up? So the light of God for me shines through, the truth shines through an emergence that happens from within. And truth reveals itself to us when we clean ourselves up. So this word satyam is a process of purification. It's a process of cleansing the self. And it carries one purpose: to know yourself as you are. To see yourself and for yourself to reveal to you who you are. And what you're cleaning out are all the layers that you have been told for not just this one birth, but for birth after birth after birth, for those of us who believe in life after death, of identifications, of layers of identifications that we have inculcated. And we see ourselves through these. And we're no longer, the truth then gets hidden from us. So Satyam, connecting to the light of God as Satyam, is to go through this cleansing process, not a painting process, because then it's another layer of identification. I will be using something to identify with to paint myself, but it's more cleansing, cleaning myself. And the more I clean myself, it's the more I give myself permission to be who I am. But you're doing it under the light of God's wisdom. So that is Satyam. Exercise that creative freedom. And use that creative freedom to be who you were born to be. and to live your life with purpose and with meaning, with dignity, and be worthy of it. And then the second quality is Shivam. Shivam is benevolence. Benevolence is bringing benefit. And of course, we heard about thoughts. We heard about compassion. We heard about happiness. So where would compassion and happiness be cultivated? What's the domain that we cultivate compassion, happiness, peace, love in? Because those are things that bring benefit, right? Don't they? Yeah. In your hearts, yes, of course. In the heart of the soul. And, you know, when we talk about the benevolence of God, do you think God's benevolence is narrowed down to people who are good? So if I'm a good person and I'm Brahma Kumari and I'm wearing white, God is on my side. Or do you think there's benefit for everyone? Right? For the good and the bad. So this morning I was asking a question. If you have a kid who excels at studying, a special gifted kid, and you have one who's a challenged kid, where will your attention go? I suppose it should go to both, right? It should go to both, but you can't overemphasize one because the other will be left out, right? But the tendency would be to want to help the one who needs your help. But it requires more patience. It requires more time. It requires giving more of yourself. So there was a story someone was telling me, and she's from Ireland, and she loves the story, these Indian, mythology. She loves it. And she was telling me about the story of Akbar and Birbal, two characters. And she says, there was this Mughal emperor, and of course, Birbal was Hindu. And he would be like the wisdom, the voice bringing benefit to the king when the king was grappling with what to do. And so whenever there was a situation in the world, in his kingdom, he would call on his best minister or on his best helper or whoever to go and deal with it. But he would keep sitting on his throne, right? And then one day, he heard this shouting, "Oh, come quickly, 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 the king's son is drowning." And he got up from his chair and he ran. He didn't call on anyone. He ran to save his son. And Birbal said, when it's the child, nothing less than the parent is required. In other words, you wouldn't call on someone if you heard your child is in danger. You run. So this thing of benevolence, for me, it's the same. When we are in need of spiritual benefit, when we are in need of spiritual support, when everything else falls away from us and we're left alone, who do we turn to? atheist, agnostic, theist. Who do we turn to? Who do we turn to for benefit? Who do we turn to discern what I need to do in the moment? You turn to whoever is God for you. So I was interviewed a few months ago by a very beautiful person who lives in Israel. And he has a television program that brings spiritual perspective. And he had it way before this current war that's going on. And he continues exploring different spiritual traditions. And he interviewed me and he asked me the question, what do you think the Middle East needs now? They need peace. My answer was, they need a new story. They need a new story, a story that could take them beyond the violence, because it is a history of violence. Now they need a new story. So then he asked me the question, well, how will we get this new story? And I said, recall Abraham. We need to recall Prophet Abraham. And we need to say to him, help us make sense and meaning of what's going on here. So then he says, well, how do you do that? I said, well, how I did it was when I visited the Wailing Wall, I wrote my little note. And I said, dear Abraham, we need you. Please return to us. And I did that and stuck it in that wall. But think about Abraham as the one who would want to bring benefit to both sides. Think about Abraham who would embody the benevolence that is required in the world. Think about Abraham as a set of principles that, if embodied, we will bring benefit to our brothers and sisters. So this is the kind of benefit that Shivam represents. A benefit that benefits the well-being of the life of the other. A benefit that upholds the worth of that life. And so that's what we need at this moment. And that's the mystery that's going on. You know, how do we benefit one another? A person sitting next to you on the subway, behaving in a crazy manner, and you didn't know he was crazy until you went and sat next to him. And what do? You shrink yourself to be so small because you're afraid that this person is going to defile you in some way or the other. Whereas the person is becoming a bigger person because he wants to be seen. He wants to be appreciated. Nobody does that for him. So he's acting in a strange way that's making you smaller, but he wants to be bigger. He wants to connect. And rather than becoming smaller, could I turn around, look at him in the eye, and appreciate that he exists? Can I see him with a vision of love, accepting that he too has a place in this subway car and in this world? Can I appreciate life in others because there is life? and not want to take it away, not want to destroy it, not want to liquidate them. So that's benevolent. Leaving no one behind and appreciating, even if it's a spark of goodness in them. And that's what it represents. And then the third is Sundaram. And Sundaram is beauty. So how beautiful are you? How beautiful are you? Beauty lies in the eye of the beholder, right? What's your eye? And how do you behold yourself? So the question, do you want to look beautiful for others? Or do you want to be beautiful for yourself? Do you get all dressed up and decked off because of what other people will say about you? No, but this spiritual beauty is what Sundaram is. But for me, the beauty is the beauty of belonging. The greatest beauty is, of course, your own beauty, your own inner beauty, and everybody has inner beauty. But it's also a beauty that connects to the beauty of others, and it's the beauty of belonging. You heard that I represent the Brahma Kumaris at the UN. And the first time I visited the United Nations, I was really shocked, because there was a few things I discovered about that place. One was its international territory in Manhattan. The Rockefellers donated it for the UN to be built on. The second thing about it, it brings the world together. And I remember standing there and watching people dress in their native dress. And I was so fascinated. Like, here is a place in one of the biggest cities in the world in which the whole world comes together, and who cares? Who cares what they're talking about, what they're doing, how they're doing it, what they're bringing there, the aspirations that they carry, what 2/3 of the world and 2/3 of the world's population is in Asia, what they're going through. But one of the most beautiful things is the beauty of belonging to the same one. And so this beauty of belonging is shown in a manifestation of Shiva as the seed of the world tree, the seed of the human world tree. And the beauty of the tree is the seed. So if I want to connect to my own inner beauty and to the beauty of others in the world, don't go to the branches and to the leaves and to the, the different parts of the tree, but go to the seed. And that seed will give you the ability to see with eyes that appreciate, and to see with eyes that see beauty first, and to connect to that beauty. Because when you connect to beauty, you don't destroy. When you connect to beauty, you flourish. If we can do it for each other, we can do it for our environment. We can appreciate the biodiversity of our environment. if we could appreciate the deep ecology of the soul, the deep beauty that lies within the soul. And so God is Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. He does those three things for us. And then he says, children, use your eyes, your third eye, your divine insight, and see the world with these three qualities. Let your truth emerge. Be benevolent and have the beauty of belonging. Let your inner beauty connect to the inner beauty of others. Om Shanti. Let's close with a very short meditation. Center yourself on the seat of the soul. I'm a living light. A light whose highest purpose is to return to the meaning of who I am, what am I doing here, and who I belong to. Seek meaning, I must transcend the limitations. The things that blind me, that narrow my vision. Let me connect to a source in this state of transcendence. Let me, with creative freedom, connect to a truth, a source of truth. Let that truth emerge. From the cleanliness within my thoughts and my feelings. Let me connect to the source to feel what benevolence is. the support, and the strength that I, the soul, need to remove my fear, my anxiety, and my doubts. Benefit is strength inside of me, and benefit is being there for others. Let me connect to the source of beauty, a beauty that connects us into a greater belonging, belonging to the tree of humanity, and connecting to the sea. Om Shanti.
As we come to a close to this sacred gathering, the renaissance of wisdom and the fortune of having Sister Gayatri has touched the core of me, and I suppose each one of us. I felt I was in Oprah Winfrey's studio. I felt I was in a gathering which would have taken me so much courage to be. And here she has explained and touched the simplicity and the beauty of emerging the truth within us. So multi-million times. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So what do you all say? Does she get a large applaud of clap? I don't know all of you personally, but for me personally, to have a teacher at this amount of wisdom and to share it with us is truly our fortune. And if we have to call it in a more worldly way, it is a lottery. So don't let go of this lottery. Hold it really close to your heart and take it to this illuminated path that Sister Gayatri has shared with us. So at the Brahma Kumaris, we have this closing tradition where we share this sweet, which is called Toli, which is prepared after staying in remembrance and meditation of the Supreme. So it nourishes the body, nourishes the soul. And there is one more beautiful tradition that we share, Drishti. So allow yourself, when Sister Gayatri gives you this treat, look into her eyes and receive that Drishti, and let's that magical moment transform you, shift you, and change you. So I would request one at a time, if you could form a line on that side, come in front of Sister Gayatri, received your blessing card and your Toli, and you could depart from here. And I thank each one of you for taking the time, for taking care of yourself, because when you take care of yourself, you take care of others. So thank you, thank you, And thank you. And one more request. We have we have two announcements. We have a Women's Day program on March 30th from 10 to 12. It is a workshop. And we have courses from everything that Gayatri Ben had just mentioned to you. We have courses to dive deeper, which begins on March 18th for 5 days from 5:15 to 6:15. And we have a sign-up sheet where you could leave your email address to always receive updated information of what is happening at Harmony House. And Sister Gayatri had to catch a flight this afternoon, but she changed it to be with all of us. So now she is running to the airport to catch her flight. So Sister Tina is going to give you the sweets and the blessings, but allow yourself to exchange the drishti with her. So thank you again, and just give us a minute till we prepare to be here. Thank you again.
उसे देखना इबादत है, उसे सोचना इबादत है, सुनना भी इबादत है, उसे दिल की सुनाना उस रब का शुक्राना। कभी भूल कर भी ना उसको भुलाना, कभी भूल कर भी ना उसको भुलाना, ए दिल मेरे गाना उस रब का शुक्राना। कभी भूल कर भी ना उसको भुलाना, कभी भूल कर भी ना उसको भुलाना, ए दिल मेरे गाना उस रब का शुक्राना। अपना बनाने का, आंखों में बसाने का, दिल में बिठाने का, लाखों शुक्राना। अपना बनाने का, आंखों में बसाने का, दिल में बिठाने का, लाखों शुक्राना। उस रब का शुक्राना, उस रब का शुक्राना, उस रब का शुक्राना, उस रब का शुक्राना। गजब का प्यार दिया, हंसी परिवार दिया, एहसान हमने किया, मुश्किल है सुनाना। गजब का प्यार दिया, हंसी परिवार दिया, एहसान हमने किया, मुश्किल है सुनाना। उस रब का शुक्राना, उस रब का शुक्राना, उस रब का शुक्राना, उस रब का शुक्राना। सबका जो सपना है मेरा वो अपना है प्यारा वो कितना है खुशी का नाम ठिकाना सबका जो सपना है मेरा वो अपना है प्यारा वो कितना है खुशी का ना ठिकाना उस रब का शुक्राना उस रब का शुक्राना उस रब का शुक्राना उस रब का शुक्राना जीना सिखाया है मंजिल दिखाया है खूबी से सजा है जिंदगी बनाना जीना सिखाया है मंजिल दिखाया है खूबी से सजा है जिंदगी बनाना उस रब का शुक्राना उस रब का शुक्राना उस रब का शुक्राना उस रब का शुक्राना कभी भूल कर भी ना उसको भुलाना कभी भूल कर भी ना उसको भुलाना ऐ दिल मेरे दीवाना उस रब का शुक्राना 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 उस रब का शुक्राना